Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we have 6 different games we're going to take a look at. Various games, very, very different in many ways, although 2 of them happen to be about krill. Go figure. Well, we're going to take a look at them. Let's get started. Farmhand is a small trick-taking game where you can see the backs of the other cards and you're guessing how many tricks you're going to win, which has been done in many games before, but this one is what we call a micro game. There's just 32 cards in it. Here's how it plays. In Farmhand, each player gets their own little bidding chart here. There's a card that tells you how many cards will be dealt to each player each round of the game, and then there's also a card players get to tell you the distribution of cards. So in this game, every card, it shows you their color on the front and the back, and on the back it tells you what it might be. So this is a blue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7. It's a blue 1. And this is a yellow 1, 5, or 7. It's a 7. So in round 1, for example, everyone's going to get dealt, you'll shuffle the deck, and everyone gets dealt 1 card. I can see what color you have, but I don't know the number, unless, of course, you get the mountain, in which case I know it's definitely a 6. So everyone has these, and then at the same time, everyone will say E-I-E-I-O, and put out the number of fingers. In round 1, it will be 0 or 1, to how many bids you think you'll win, and you mark that here. You then play the game where each person plays a card, and you have to follow the suit that's led. Again, in round 1, there's only 1 card, so it doesn't matter. But after all the cards have been played, we turn the cards over, and whoever played the highest number, doesn't matter the color, wins that trick. Now, if 2 cards are played that have the same number, let's say this card had been played, then they cancel out, and the next highest number would win the trick. Then that person leads the next trick if there's more than 1, and you keep going. Now, at the end, you're going to see how many tricks you won. If you won the number of tricks you said you were going to win, you get points equal to whatever round it is. So in round 3, I say I win 1 trick, I win 1 trick, I get 3 points. Everyone else will lose a point equal to the difference of how many they said they would get and how many they actually got. And after 6 rounds, you'll take all the points you got, positive and negative, and whoever has the most is the winner. So Farmhand is a pretty interesting game. I would hesitate to call it great. I do like it a lot, though. 7 out of 10. It's one of those games that starts out very oddly. That first trick, you can look around and you can almost guess you're going to win or lose. Although sometimes you're just making a 50% guess. Like, well, I know that your card is the 2 or the 7. If it's a 7, you're going to win. If it's a 2, I'm going to win. I don't know. You're just guessing, and you can't really use their bid because bids are done simultaneous. It gets trickier as time goes by because you're looking at the different cards, and at the beginning, the trick-taking almost doesn't work. It's almost reversed because a lot of these games, things get smaller. This one, it gets bigger as the game goes by. And so I like it as an amusing sideline. It's not something I would want to play as my main. I mean, there's a lot of trick-taking games out there where I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, they play this. This, I have to do a whole lot less thinking because, yes, you can sometimes puzzle out what's going to happen, but sometimes it also feels kind of crazy random. So it's it's fun, and I think if you look at it that way and have it kind of as something that you fill in the gaps between maybe a more fulfilling trick-taking game, I think you would like Farmhand. License to Krill. It's interesting. I looked up the number of krill games on Board Game Geek, and there's not too many of them, but almost all of them are a pun. This one here it comes with a stuffed little whale, but inside the whale, the cards come out of his mouth, and he's actually used over the course of the game. Here's how it plays. In this game, you have a certain number of these cards out based on the number of players. I'm showing you a 5-player setup here. And on the player's turn, they're going to take the top card of any one of these, and they'll put that card in front of them. Everyone starts with 1 red kelp, which is worth -1 point, although at the end of the game, whoever has the most kelp will get 3 points. So if I take this one, Shrimp Way the Best, it's 3, but also it is 0 points if I have the most total cards. So I don't want to get too many cards if I take that. When you take a card, if it shows a shark at the top when you take it, you will also activate the bottom one. These say clockwise, counterclockwise by 2. That means you're moving this big whale stuffy around. And this matters because at the end of your turn, after you're refilling here, you will draw the top whale card. Pass the whale once clockwise. Not a big deal. Nothing might happen. Move the whale to the person with the most sardines. Or krilling times. When this happens, whoever's the whale target has to feed the whale a card, and you just stick it in the mouth because this is where all the cards get stored in the game between games anyway. So that's not so bad. I gave him a -1 card, but if it happened to me again, I would have to give up this better card. So I want this whale to pass from me. And so this will continue. The game end is triggered by these whale cards. At the end, there's some final krill cards, and one of those final krill cards is the krilling blow. The game is finished, and the whale target feeds one card. Whoever has the whale feeds it to the whale. And you'll get a kelp card unless you're feeding a kelp when that happens, which is great. If you're trying to get the most kelp, the kelp cards eventually turn into, there's a golden kelp at the bottom, which can give you more points. And that's it. At the end of the game, you're simply adding up all the points in your cards. Some are like sardine cards. If you have 3 of them, they're worth 3 points each. Some cards are 3, but 0 if I have any mono krill. So I don't want to have too many mono krill cards. Just one of them is fine. And that's whoever's the highest score is the winner. I want to like this game. I mean, who's going to argue against a stuffed whale wearing a tie? And the concept of drafting a card to get points and then moving the whale around sounds interesting. But at the end of the day, this one here is just a 5 out of 10 for me. And the reason why is while there's some amusing things to this game, at the end of the day, it's really kind of random. It's also a bit of take that. I take this card and I move it clockwise. I don't want to take this card because if it moves clockwise, it will come to me. Okay, there's some strategy there, but the rest of the time it's there. And then drawing that whale card, the whale's in front of me, nothing happens. The whale's in front of you, bam, it eats one of your cards. It just feels kind of random. And so the game goes by and there's the typical scoring cards we often see in this game. This one's 3, but if you have another one, it's worth 0. This one's 1 by itself, but if you have both of them now, they're both worth 2. That's cool, and I don't mind those scoring cards, but they need to have a stronger game behind them. So while this is an amusing game that I could see people maybe enjoying just because, hey, you're moving a stuffed whale around and laughing at other people, I also feel like it's a little bit too many rules, too short at the same time. It just didn't do it for me. So license Krill. Go for the Krill. Krill games always seem to have a sort of pun. This is a game in which you are simultaneously selecting and trying to take cards in the middle, outguessing your opponents. Let's see how it plays. In Go for the Krill, each person is going to get a handful of cards from 1 to 10, as well as a giant squid and an emperor penguin. Now, on a player's turn, before each round, you're going to draw cards equal to the number of players times 2. So if it was a 4-player game, we would draw 8 cards. And you can see that the cards of the same number, whether they are krill or plankton, will go in the same column. Then everyone's simultaneously going to pick a card from their hand and reveal it. Now, I would not reveal an 8. That would be a terrible card. But let's say I revealed a 2. If I'm the only person to reveal a 2, then I get all these cards and they go in my score pile. If multiple people play a 2, well, no one gets anything. Regardless of whether you get something or not, that card goes in your discard pile, which other people can check. If you play a giant squid, you don't get anything, but you do get to bring one of the cards in your discard pile back in your hand. And if you play Emperor Penguin, you can collect any food stack that's not been spooked or already collected. Spook just means that 2 people played the same card, so no one's getting that group that round. And then any cards that are out there, stay out there, and you'll just continue to draw more cards and make some of the piles juicier and juicier as you go through. After everyone has gone through the rounds, there's 12 rounds, everyone will play all their cards. You just add up the points. Krill cards are just worth double, so this is not worth just 3, it's worth 6. And whoever has the most points is the winner. So there's a lot of similarities to this and a game that I hate called Go Nuts for Donuts, which I just didn't like that game, in which you simultaneously select it, and if you pick the same number as someone else, you got nothing. So why do I like this one? This one I actually give a 7 out of 10. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, once you play a card, you no longer have that card in your hand. So I'm watching. So Bob and Sam both played a 7. Well, now they both no longer have their 7. So here's my chance to play a 7. But, Bill still has his 7 and Susan still has her 7. That being said, for some reason, this goes 2 to 6 players, it's a pretty decent 3-player game. It feels more strategic that way, so keep that in mind. And then there's a card that gives you your numbers back. You want to let these cards build up. Cards get more valuable, so there's a bit of, that that whole, not just push your luck, but a game of chicken, like, ooh, there's 3 8s out there. Go ahead and take them, because I'm willing to wait till there's 6 8s out there. There's a little bit of that in there. So I find it to be an amusing sideline of a game. I don't care about the name license. Go for the Krill. But the artwork is nice. It's simple and easy to play. A couple special cards. Honestly, there's a few special cards in the deck, like one that comes out and says get rid of all the food cards. They could have just gotten rid of those out of the game. They add nothing to the game, and there's so few of them. But yeah, it's an interesting, amusing style game. Mozaik with a K. Every detail counts. So this is another party-style game in which you are building a grid of cards in front of you, trying to match different objects. You know what? This is one of those games that is way easier to see than to talk about. The goal of this game is to score points, and at the end of the game, you're going to have a 3x3 grid. And you're going to be placing cards on either top or bottom or next to a row or a column of this grid, and like trying to score for that. This card, for example, says the color blue is visible on this image. Well, all 3 of these have blue in, so this one's going to be worth 4 points. A helmet or a mask. Well, this guy's wearing a helmet, but that one's not. So that's 2 here, which is only 1 point. If I had just 1, it'd be 2 points, but then a 1 or an 8. A star, so that's a star. I don't see any stars in these, so this one's just worth 1. But a moon, the moon's in all 3 of these, so here I would get 6 points. At the beginning of each round, there's going to be a card turned over per player. Each player has a hand of 3 cards, and they're going to be picking a card from their hand. So maybe I'll pick this card, we put it face down, then we reveal them. Then starting from there's a little number in the top corner here, whoever's the lowest number is going to start, and they'll take a card, and each person will take a card, and they'll put that card, both cards, into their grid, 3x3 grid, and on next to it, the other card next to it in some manner or fashion. And then with the leftover cards, you can discard 2 of them to draw 3 new cards, or you can just simply draw an extra card. But when you discard cards, you're going to put them next to you, and at the end of the game, every 2 cards that you have discarded, you will lose 1 point for. Once everyone's grids is completed, scoring will happen like I already showed you. I like Mozaik. I'm giving this game a 7 out of 10, but I'll tell you what. There is a reason it's not an 8. And the main negative reason for this game, beautiful art. The concept of the game works really well. I like the idea of building a grid and matching and trying to get all 3. It feels really good. It's going to be really hard for you to get all 3 in all different columns. Where this game has a flaw, though, is in the arguing. Sometimes it's easy. Is this card blue? Sometimes I'm like, is this a weapon? Like, that's definitely a weapon. Well, it's a cane. It's not really a weapon. Well, no, a cane can be used as a weapon. So there's a bit of that happens sometimes. Like, I don't know if this counts for that. And I wish there was almost like an index that said, this card counts for these things. This card does not count for these things. And I bet you that they have that somewhere. It does have understanding and debating the words. There's a whole page in the back here that says when there's a disagreement, all players, and if at least one player agrees with it, it's valid. Okay, so that works. And there's also double meanings, like teeth, and a cog has teeth and things like that. But that doesn't mean, in one sense, though, that if I agree with, Sally, that she said this, and we both are in agreement, but, Barb is pretty angry about it. Even if we have it in agreement, she's still going to go home that night going, that didn't seem like it was fair. So keep that in mind. That being said, if you're not playing in that kind of level and just having a good time, I find this to be enjoyable. The illustrations, there's a ton of different illustrators, which often sometimes gives a project a disjointed mess, but I think in this case it works pretty well. And having the number on the card is good because some cards match more things, and then they have higher numbers because, well, if you play that, you might not get that category you want. So it's a fun, amusing, different style party game, Mozaik. Love Conquers All. So this is a game from Guerrilla Games in which you're playing a cooperative game. You could even play it at solo if you want to, because it says on here, life is a cooperative game. And you are placing tiles on a board trying to get them all in. It has tiles called obligations, intolerance, forgiveness. It sounds like an educational game. Not quite, though. Here's how it plays. To start with, there's a bunch of tiles here, and each tile has a corresponding card. Some cards are love cards, the pink ones, they're great. And then the rest of them, the challenge cards, are not as good. And you're going to shuffle a certain amount of them together to make a deck. So let's say an easy game would be 17 of the challenge cards and 4 love cards. You shuffle them, and each player gets a hand of 5 cards. Now on your turn, you can play a card, or you must play a card in front of you. And so I play Distrust. I'll find the Distrust tile, and the first tile, 2 tiles that are played, need to go so that they have an edge in the opposite corners. After that, where you place cards is you can place tiles pretty much where you want, with some exceptions. Once you play a card, for example, Distrust, my plays cannot touch anything unless my play touches an edge. So the next time I play one, I might have to play Obligations here. Now, happily, or some of the cards, these tiles you can't flip over, but happily, the love cards, when you play a love tile, you can place it on either side. So if you play Care, for example, it can go this way or this way. But when you do that, all the cards that you put it next to, all the tiles next to, will flip over, and those cards will also flip over, and I'm no longer restricted by those restrictions. And again, all kinds of restrictions. Hobbies. All your plays must touch one other tile. Greed. I can't play the smallest card in my hand. Abuse. No plays may touch love. Love may still be played to touch anything. Money. I must play the largest card in my hand. Jealousy. I must touch the previous play, and one of the tiles have touched, if any. So you're allowed to talk as much as you want between the players and have communication. You just can't show specific cards to other people. And everyone is going to help you put them out. And the game will end when everyone gets rid of all the cards in their hand, or if you fail. You fail when somebody can't place a card or place a tile, or if there's no space left to put tiles on the board. So the only way to win is to get everything on the board. They show you this is an example of a winning game. Sometimes the love cards will also give you bonuses, like discard a card from your hand. That way you can get rid of those. Or the next tile played is resolved regardless of where it is played. That's nice. Or remove a tile touching this play from the game. So using those at the right time will help you get all the tiles on the board. I really kind of worried when I first saw this that it was like this was the kind of game that came with a lesson with a capital L. Oh, that is why we should be joyful. But you know what? It's a pretty solid game. This game is a game that starts off pretty simple. Oh, I can place these out there. I'm trying to fit it into polyominoes on this board. Oh, but then you start getting these restrictions. I must place on the outside of the board. I must connect to other people. And this kind of back and forth, that makes the game difficult. And then the love tiles canceling the other ones out. That's pretty interesting. So a couple thoughts here. First of all, the theme is actually still pretty good. They tried to thematically put these in there. I remember I played this with my kids, and the card Children came out, and the kids were like, really? So children is a burden on your life? I'm like, no, but it is something you have to deal with. I'm not saying this game is the deep thoughts and mysteries of the end of the universe, but did provoke a little discussion, and they were also happy to see Parents was also in the game. So as both things that you put out there. There is also a bit of luck. You make this deck, and sometimes the cards come out, and you can get so caught up with these rules, like, okay, I have to put it next to a tile that's out there, and I have to put it on the edge, and I have to do this. Oh, good, we got rid of these tiles. And you work so hard on that you forget about the fact that if you're not careful, it's very easy to not have everything fit on the board. In fact, of my plays of this, I have not won yet. We've come incredibly close. So I think it's a little bit difficult to play, but I also can see that if some cards had come out in just a slightly different bit of order, we would have easily won. You also get to make some choices. Choices where the tiles go, choices as to what cards to discard. So I find this to be kind of an intriguing game, and I also do like the little artwork on it. I find it to be fun. So this is another one that I would give a 7 out of 10 to. Heroes Write and Conquer. This is a giant roll and write game where instead of just getting a small sheet, you are getting a large sheet here. You're the elves. You're fighting in a battle, in a land war. Here's how it plays. In this game, everyone gets a quick reference sheet and then a faction. So you have the orcs, the gnomes, the nagas, the humans, boring, the undead, or the elves. Now, when you pick each of these factions, they are different, and some even have some more weird oddities to them. But you're going to start with some units. So, for example, here it shows a 2. I start with 2 scouts, which I'll write down. You're also going to possibly cross some areas off on the board you can't go to if you're playing with less than 4 players, and you also have a starting position. And so once you're in your position, you're always going to get whenever you go to a new spot, you get the resources on that spot. So now I have 2 wood. If you get a whole lot of a resource, that will give you points. Once I get 30 wood, I can circle that and get 3 points at the end of the game. But on your turn, this is how we keep track of the turns of the game. One person is going to decide the actions for that turn. I might say we're going to do this first, this second, this third, and this fourth. And everyone will copy me. And then when someone else's turn to go first, they pick the numbers. 3 of these are resources: wood, stone, and money. Those resources you simply get here equal to the number that's done. These are done in order: 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we would all get 1 iron, then 2 movement, then 3 build, then 4 money. The move lets you move on the board. You can go to different spaces, moving through portals. When you get to the end, you get the resources. And if you move to a spot with someone else, you might have to fight them. Or you can also decide to fight these monsters that are down here, which need a certain amount of power to get them. By building, you can build more buildings. There's prerequisites. I can build the Idol of War, then the Dump, then the House Chief. And these will give you special abilities. They have costs that they cost to build them. Some of them, once you build them, you can then recruit, paying this amount here. So if I build 3 chargers for 9 gold, I now have 15 attack, although bombers are better. And if they're attacking a fortress, it's 12. There's fortresses here that when you beat them, you get points in the resources underneath. There's some more stuff. Some of the spots you go to, you'll find artifacts, which will give you bonuses, or you have the ability to build these artifacts. You can steal them from other players. And when the game is over, after a certain number of turns, you're going to get points for some of the buildings you built. You will get the points for collecting resources, points for beating monsters, points for conquering fortresses, and some points for artifacts, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Heroes has a lot of interesting concepts, and there's a lot of things about Heroes that I like. The main detractor for me for Heroes, though, what keeps me from giving it a 7, this is a 6 out of 10 for me. The main thing that keeps me from giving it a higher score, though, is the fact that I just cannot shake the feeling that this did not need to be a roll and write. There's a board if we both go to the same spot. Well, why would we not just have a central map? Where we're all moving our pieces along, where we all collect the resources, where we spend those resources. Yeah, you could still have part of it being roll and write, maybe cross off the buildings and not. But at the end of the day, there's just a lot of these little things. And that the concept of 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're picking 4 out of 5 actions is not as interesting as it sounds. There's 5 actions. You're picking 4. The order matters. But again, since it affects everybody, I'm like, ooh, what did you say? 2 for gold? I guess I'm getting 2 gold. Moving around the board and then fighting another player. This is one of those games where the winner of the battle is going to take, you're going to, basically when you fight someone else, you determine how many troops you're going to send, and they will all die, and the winner gets to kill a monster, and the loser, they can steal something from the loser. But the winner gets a lot. The loser doesn't get nearly as much, and the person, if you're playing more than 2, who's not involved in the battle, sits back and goes, yeah. There's also special buildings. There's a lot of special. It feels like a lot in a little. Now, you're saying, Tom, you're giving us a lot of negativity, but I still do like a lot of parts of it. I like the different factions and how they feel different. I like the concept of, do I want to fight a monster, or how do I want to move on this board? You can only go to each territory once, and so I'm thinking about, or at least you can only get the resources from it once. I'm thinking about the best way to move on the board, to how do I get points. There's a lot of cool concepts in here, but it just feels a bit like they shoehorned in the roll and write part of it, or the choose and write part of it, I guess, and that just kind of makes it forgettable to some degree. So it's intriguing, but one that I don't know that people are going to go back to, hence the 6 out of 10. Well, there you go, folks. 6 games. You might have different thoughts on these. Fantastic. Tell people in the comments. You might like them more than me. You might like them less than me. But they're interesting games and worth, finding out about. I like the fact that each of these games tried to do something different. There you go. Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower. I want to do a shout out to some of our GameFound backers. I want to say thank you to James Labar, to Scott and Becky from Belmont, Michigan, to Paul Zabat, to Jane Mascaro and Mark Meadows, and then to Xander and Zoru. Thank you so much for watching and supporting our show, and thank you all for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.